Well, thank you all for coming. It is Tuesday, December 9th, and it is the Rotary Club of Motorcycling Rotarians. And why don't we take a moment and let's talk Happy Bucks. Anybody got anything special they want to share tonight?
No, it's freezing here.
Yeah, that weather, I just saw the weather map before I came in here, and boy, oh boy, it looks like, coming across the north there looks pretty horrible right now.
You notice what
There
you
you
notice what
go.
I'm wearing.
If
No,
I were
I'll
bundled up,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if I'm bundled up like that, it's cold down here. And I mean, cold for us is like, 70 degrees. It's bizarre. It's so weird. So,
I'll
Actually,
do a
where I'm
happy
from, it's
buck.
33.
I'm getting out of here next Saturday. I'm going back to Guatemala. That'll be my happy buck.
yeah,
And I gotta say, I'm really happy that Amanda's coming through with the party next Tuesday night. Hope you're all thinking about participating.
Well, yeah,
Should be a
but
lot
what
of
are we
fun.
buying?
What's that?
So, but what are we supposed to get?
I
it's
put that she had it in the Facebook thing, but I put it in the IFMR. I think I was in the announcement tonight too, didn't I?
it was in tonight's announcement. It was also in the IFMR email, and there, I believe, are four listed, and kind of what you. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll pick up a bottle of Pinot. Who knows?
It's wines he listed are really easy, Roy, to find, I think, this time. I got half of them already sitting here.
Yeah.
I got the Riesling and I've got the Pinot Noir, except I'm gonna be in Guatemala, so I'm gonna have to buy again. Eh, ouch.
Boo-hoo.
Boo-hoo. Gotta hope I can find cranberries there.
But anybody have anything else? Anything we want to chat about? I mean, this Saturday is Wreaths Across America, so I will be out with who am I going to be out with this year? I'm going to be out with a couple of our VFW posts, putting wreaths out on the graves at Houston National. We do it every year. And so we are looking forward to that. I don't know, it's kind of like snuck up on me this year. I feel horribly unprepared, but it'll be a good it's always good to go out there and see a lot of people. And the saddest part is the Houston National Cemetery is huge. It is an enormous place, and it's when you start to realize how many new graves there are, from one year to the next, and how many sections they open up. It's an amazing experience. I'm glad we go and do it. So that's what's up with me.
I will be joining you, except I'm going to be at the Horton Military, National Cemetery here in Suffolk, and
Oh,
we're
excellent.
doing that this Saturday.
Excellent. Yeah, it's yeah, we've done it. I can't even tell you how many years in a row. And I mean, we've done small cemeteries. Houston National is just crazy huge. And sometimes the I think our issue sometimes becomes that it's such a huge cemetery, and of course you're never able to raise enough wreaths to cover the entire cemetery. So sometimes I appreciate when we are out at a smaller, more local location. And so it's been interesting. It's definitely interesting. One of the things we got involved with is we have a new VFW forming here, and so
Well,
they're
that's
doing
odd.
their fundraising and all that. So we've been more involved with them and kind of watching them form and take shape. So that's been kind of interesting, but it's a tough year. I think, honestly, it's a tough year for everybody right now.
With no recent military interaction type stuff around the world to speak of that's going down, what's the motivation on the new VFW? That's pretty cool.
Um, you know, that is actually a very good question. And what it was is we have a suburb. Houston is strangely laid out, and there was no VFW like literally north of the city. So where Houston ends, and which then is where spring begins, they kind of got together in spring and decided that they wanted to have something more local. And so they have worked on creating it, and it's in the works. And I think the hardest part, they're trying to engage. I think they see a lot of the similar issues that we see. It's trying to get people engaged. So we're excited. I've done work with there's a VFW not too far from me here on my side of town because I'm on the northeast side. Um, and we've done work with that VFW and they're great guys up there. So, we're trying to help where we can help, kind of be part of all of it. So, anything else, anyone? Nothing? Okay. Well, today our speaker gets to be our now I have to remember what are you? Is he president elect? Help me here.
President
President
nominee.
president
Nominee
nominee.
elect
That's
come
right.
next year.
Yeah, next year you'll be elect, but our president nominee is going to talk about himself tonight. So, David Bluford, please take it away.
Well, what a subject to talk about, huh? Last week we talked about motorcycle tires, and so we had 20 people. Today we talk about me, and we got 5 people. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the way it works. Okay, I'm going to try to share mine up here. Share. If it loads up to where you can see that, just to get started.
You got any audio in the stuff you're sharing?
No,
Okay. Yeah, there's a special button you need to push if you ever do that.
Let's see here. Let me go back to here, hit share screen. Let's see here. Need to pull up.
You got to click the screen
Yes,
you're going to share, and then you got to click the share again, I guess.
Click the share again. Oh, where did it go? Let's see here. I don't see a share again here.
Well, let me you hit the share. I'll bring it up. It brings up the screen of what you want to share. Then you click on the item you want to share. And then at the bottom, there's that share button. That's where you hit share. You know what I'm talking about?
Let's see here. Yeah, let's see. Let me pull up this right here. See if it does it this.
When you click the share button, it opens up a white window. It's got all your screens or your activities or whatever up there. You click on the one you want to share, and in the bottom of that big window, it still says share. And then you hit that blue share button and it shares.
Okay, let's see here if that works this time. Share, share. Well, it's not showing that screen. Let's see here. Not showing my screen. Well, that's good. Back about 4 or 5 years ago, we were all real adept at Zoom and how to use everything. And I haven't done anything in several years with sharing the screen. Let's see here. Let's see
Here, let me, I'll show you. Let me share here real quickly. Which one did I want to share? This one here. So when you hit that share button, David,
Yeah.
this screen pops up, this white screen.
Mm-hmm.
You click on whichever thing you're trying to share that'll be in this area.
Well, it's not showing on mine. That's what I got to that part, but it's a PowerPoint thing and it's not sharing, not showing on there.
Is your PowerPoint's there? You hit that button and whatever that PowerPoint is, say it was right here, you click that, and then you hit this blue share button at the bottom once that PowerPoint's highlighted.
Okay, let's just see here.
And I gotta stop share.
You got to get out of there now.
There, I'm out.
Okay. Share the screen. Let's see here. There we go. See, I don't get all those options at the bottom that you're looking at there. They're not highlighted. Let's see if that works.
There you go.
Well,
Said you started sharing. Not seeing
Well,
anything but a black screen yet, but
joy of technology. Don't we have it all today?
do you have multiple screens?
You're sharing screen. Let's see here. Oh, thought it came up there. Has it got it there now? Unstable network connection. Aren't we wonderful?
There we
there
go.
we go.
Let's see.
There's one of them
Here.
funny looking motorcycles. It says Charlie Davison on them.
Participants can now. Are we seeing anything?
We're seeing it. Yep, we
No,
got it.
nothing.
We're seeing it.
That may be those ones behind it. There was somewhere in there's a BMW. That's a funny one, I think. But anyway, you're seeing. Okay, I'm trying to figure out then how I'm going to if it'll do that. Well, I just started this. Whenever you asked me to do this, I thought, okay, where am I going to tie all this together? And I took this picture because of the fact that one of the things I've done over the years, as many of you know, I spent 42 years in healthcare as a chaplain, and I started in 2004 developing. It was called ah, what was healthcare has a negative impression, the negative side of it, and so they what I did was invite all of our employees and physicians and a few others from the community that we had contact with to participate with us in rides, and it was a fundraiser ride for a benevolence fund that we had there in the hospital to help out employees in times of need, as well as some community folks. And so this was just one of the rides that we had down here, and that was just a picture of it. And so, yeah, that bike, many of you or several of you who were in Houston remember that bike. That's the one I'm still riding that now has 100,000 plus miles on it. I was born into an Air Force family, and I lived in Columbus, Ohio, in what was then Lockburn Air Force Base, which doesn't exist anymore. It's a runway that's there now. It's kind of an open base or an open airport. And then we moved to Detroit, Michigan, to actually to Selfridge Air Base there on the north side of town. My backyard was on Lake Sinclair. And so I was a youngster there and spent some time and loved the winters there. We had snow every Thanksgiving that lasted until Valentine's Day. And so as a child, that was a wonderful experience. And then moved from there to Fairfield, California, to Travis Air Base in the late 60s and lived there for 3 years. And during that was an interesting transition to go into in the late 60s with all of our going on in our country. And then Dad retired from the Air Force because of a lot of different events. And both my parents were from East Tennessee, outside of the Knoxville, Tennessee area. And so we moved back to a little town called Lenore City, Tennessee. And up to that point, I really had not been that interested in motorcycles. But when we moved back, I was too young to get a driver's license, and we lived in the country. And so a motorcycle looked like an option. And so that's when I began to ride. But my story is kind of funny in some ways because most individuals who start riding motorcycles have their own desire or interest to do that. And oftentimes they're opposed by their parents, particularly their mother. My riding began because my mother suggested me getting a motorcycle to ride back and forth to school. And so my first bike was a Ducati 100. And so my question to you all is, how did you get interested in riding a motorcycle, and what was your first bike?
My first bike was a Super Cub 50 Honda, and my mother allowed me to get it because I was doing a paper route, and I convinced her I could expand my paper route if I had this little non-motorcycle
Mm-hmm.
motorbike to do the route with.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was about 12 years old, I don't remember which one was first, but I I think the first one was actually a Honda 50 that my second cousins had that I got to get on when I was at family reunion up and down the driveway deal. Had a blast. And then another cousin had a what they called a trail ram out in the farm country and had a blast on that until I came real close to putting that through a barbed wire fence. And then in Australia, I flipped one, a Yamaha 200 that I flipped and swore I'd never get back on one. Then in college, I figured out that the parking lots for motorcycles were right nearby and they were $10 for the year. And where I was parking my car was like $1 an hour and it was like at least a half mile away. So I talked to my dad about that and he went out and helped me buy one. My mom didn't talk to him for 3 days because she was so pissed at him for helping me buy that motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first one I bought was a 425 Suzuki.
Okay. We
My
all
next
have our
one,
stories on how we got started. And that Ducati 100, most people never even knew Ducati made it. It was a little 100cc motorcycle that looked a little bit like a Honda 90 back in the late 60s. That was in 1969. And I kept it until I got my driver's license. And it was a little two-stroke motor that I blew the piston out one time and took it apart and put it back together and kept riding it. But it had a lot of power. You were supposed to have a bike that was less than 5 brake horsepower, as they would license, and that one I think had 7.5 horsepower to it. And it kept up with about anything on the road at that time that I could ride with. And so that got me going and kept my interest through the rest of my time. And so that was sort of the inroads. Now, this next one, Jerry asked me to have a picture of me as an infant, but that's not really an infant. But you see on the left there, that picture of me in the middle with my 2 sons. I was living in Memphis at the time.
I'm not
And
seeing anything.
Yeah,
Anybody
I see
else?
black.
yours is black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You want to reshare?
Let's see here. Why are we black here? That
You
doesn't
cut
really
it
work.
cut out at the last where you said you had unstable connection.
It must have
And
cut out at that. Let's see
Yeah,
here.
just stop your share and reshare it, maybe.
Okay.
Because I want to see this baby picture.
Now, that's not a baby picture by any means. Not of me, anyway. Let's put it this way. Let's see here.
Did you have a picture of that Ducati before there?
No, I don't. I don't have a
Oh,
picture of that Ducati.
Yeah, I don't
And in
have any
fact,
picture of my
I've
old
been
ones
down.
either.
Anybody been to the Berber Museum down in Montgomery, Alabama?
No?
That gentleman has over about 1,800 motorcycles in the museum there.
Wow.
He has about everything that you can think of. And I asked them if they had a Ducati 100, and they do not. They have a Ducati 250, I believe it was, but they don't have a 100. I have not found one anywhere that I can locate. Let's see here. Let me go to this. Let's see here. Share screen.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool looking bike.
From the beginning. That for lots of reasons. Do you see anything now?
Oh, it's starting to come.
Well, now I see this.
There we go.
There we
Early
go.
years.
Yep.
Have you got it now?
Yep.
Okay, that picture on the left was in Memphis when I got back into riding a little bit, and then back in the 80s there was a tariff. I wonder about that on imported motorcycles, and so Japan overbuilt a lot of the motorcycle industry, overbuilt motorcycles and shipped them over here before the tariff took place, and as a result, a lot of manufacturers and dealerships had excess motorcycles. So this was like a 2-year-old motorcycle, but it was brand new, still in the crate. And the dealer was wanting to sell it. And so I wound up buying a little Suzuki 650. And that's my youngest boy on the front of me and the oldest boy on the back of me. And so that was kind of there. I had that bike for several years, and even when I moved from Memphis to East Tennessee, I had that bike, and then sold it off after I came here for a lot of different events that were going on at that time in my life. But then this one to the right is actually, I acquired the Valkyrie after I had a Gull Wing. I had a couple of Gull Wings for a little while. Got rid of them, thought I was going to get out of riding, and went about 3 months, and then found the Valkyrie that I fell in love with and went ahead and bought it. Had it for a little while, and then sold it again. And again, I thought, okay, I'm kind of through with riding. And I went a few months, and then my wife said, "Why don't you buy another motorcycle?" And so I did. And that's when I got the Harley that we have right now. And I wanted to share, as I said, I worked in the healthcare for 42 years, and came to Memphis and did my residency there, and then moved, stayed with them for 10 years, and then moved to East Tennessee at a healthcare facility and served there for 32 years. But during that time frame, I went in and out of motorcycle riding. A lot of other things were going on, and of course, family growing up and to that nature. I myself started because of the CEO at the hospital decided we needed some community involvement, and so he said, "Why don't you find some civic group that you can relate with?" And so I did, and found the Rotary Club of Farragut that I joined back in 1999, 2000 is when I joined that. Became a part of that, and stayed with them up until I retired from the hospital, and moved up to out of that the community. And so that's kind of where that come from. But also during that time, I went through a divorce, and I had new beginnings in June of 23. You see pictured there, that's my wife. Both of us, our second marriage, and each of us had 2 grown children. And so that happened, and through our involvement with our church, and that's where we met at, and we come together. She encouraged me as we were planning a trip to Sturgis actually in 2004, and I had a 84 Gull Wing 1200, and so she said, "Why don't you look at something else?" And so I bought a 2001 Gull Wing 1800, and it had 10,000 miles on it when I bought it, actually outside of Dayton, Ohio, and wound up going up there and picking it up. And with that, I had multiple trips to Florida, did the trip to Sturgis, all of that in 2004, and then trip to Dallas. And one of my other avocations that I did over the years, I officiated high school football for over 20 years. So I came back from Sturgis in the first part of August, and my first varsity game that season, I was officiating and wound up breaking my wrist, my left wrist, which put riding out of whack for that fall. Beautiful riding time in East Tennessee, and I couldn't ride. Couldn't clutch. I tried my best to clutch, and you just can't do that with your wrist broken. And I had an external fixator I had to wear on that wrist for many weeks, and before I even had a cast put on it. But that was that kind of that thing, and got into that. But that was kind of my transition into the Gull Wing, and I rode that one for 10 years before I got rid of it. Again, thinking I was going to get out of riding. And then decided I'd buy the Harley at that particular point and move in that direction. My youngest son that was in that picture that you saw a few minutes ago, this is his son. And as he was exploring out, we found this little old 3-wheeler and got him a little bit going on that. I did a We Care ride. This was one of those We Care rides. I did them usually once or twice a year. Anywhere from 5 people up to 25 people would join us, different kind of motorcycles, all different kind of folks from the healthcare environment and the community would come and participate with us during that time. And like I said, just to be involved with supporting folks and just getting together riding. We rode all over East Tennessee. Usually the healthcare system I was a part of wound up with at that time had about 6 or 7 hospitals scattered throughout East Tennessee. That first one was in Roane County, which is down over next to where Oak Ridge is at. This one actually is up at LeCompte Medical Center, which is up in Pigeon Forge area. And so we'd ride from one facility to the other, all the back roads, and make it a Saturday afternoon trip or Saturday morning afternoon trip. This was the year that I served as president of the Rotary Club in Farragut back in 21 and 22. And you can see on there, this is actually on the poster that I got from serving as president that year. That's where that is located on my wall, and you can see the what that time the pin we had for motorcycle Rotarians that was on there as well. And over the years, we all develop things that we want to do or be involved in. This is me in another kind of helmet. One of my bucket list events, I grew up in the Air Force and I've loved flying all my life. I've been in and out, done some private flying and all that. But I became aware of an opportunity at Kissimmee, Florida, to fly in a P-51 Mustang. That's what this is. It's a Mustang it's got a rear seat that they put in there. So it's got a front and a rear seat in it. Both seats have full controls. And this is called Stallion 51, and this is called Crazy Horse. They have Crazy Horse 1 and Crazy Horse 2. They have two different P-51s that you can fly in. And so I went down there in May of 21 and in Kissimmee and got to fly that thing for an hour. Did all kinds of acrobatic maneuvers. He basically turns the stick over to you as much as possible, and you fly the plane. You take off Kissimmee and go down to the south just a little ways into some open territory, and you do it all. And so that was a different helmet experience. I guarantee it. I love it. I would love it. I encourage it to anybody. I've flown in B-17s, and I've flown in this one. I've been in B-29s. I haven't flown in it, but World War II aircraft is something that I've always enjoyed, and that was certainly a bucket list experience for me. This is the two sons you saw me with on the motorcycle. This is them grown up. The oldest one on the left. They both live in Lenore City. The youngest one on the right. Me in the middle. That's after I retired from hospitals. I retired on a Friday on June the 28th. Or not June, but January 28th. And on January 31st, I started working at a motorcycle shop. I talked to them and at the Harley shop, which is close to my house, and just to have something to do a couple of days a week. And I'm what's called I call it a glorified Walmart greeter, but they call it an enthusiast, where I get now paid to ride motorcycles, take people out on demo rides and move our bikes around. We're part of 3 different motorcycle stores, and one in Maryville, Tennessee, the one that I have in Kodak, and the one in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, along with other stores. And so we swap motorcycles around from one store to the other. So I get to be involved in that. The story too with me, and it is a bucket list, that my son on the right there in that picture, the youngest one, that was his release picture. He had just been released from serving 3 years in the state penitentiary for excessive DUIs. He had a demon of alcoholism, and he got that under control now. He's been out for 14 months out of jail, and is doing wonderful things. He's taken several mission trips. In fact, he was down in Guatemala just a couple months ago on mission trip, helping build some things down there, and is putting his life back in order. And so that was my bucket list to help him get through all that. And so that was an experience that I hope no one ever goes through, because for many different reasons. But I tell you, I learned a lot about our legal system and how really inadequate it is in providing for folks during that time working with him. This is a picture that I shared with y'all one time back not long ago, not the picture, but the story. That motorcycle that I have, that Harley, it rolled over on 100,000 miles just not too awful long ago. That was something I sort of worked toward on that. Didn't think I didn't buy it with intentions of doing that. It had 2 miles on it when I got it. And so it's been a wonderful experience. And unlike storylines about most Harleys, it's never been in the shop except for routine maintenance. And so it's been a good bike, and got me all over the area, up in Ohio and Pennsylvania and West Virginia and down Florida too many times to count, and out to Houston with you all, and hopefully we'll make it up to Canada with next spring, and so we'll see how that works. Another thing that I have for a bucket list, I've always been one who builds houses and works on things. Every house I built, I've added on, done something to it. Well, my wife's son moved. He'd been down in Florida for 17 years, and he moved back home with us back about not quite 3 years ago. And so about a year and a half ago, we talked to him and said, well, we need to do something. We own 3 acres up here out in the country. And we said, we can sell you an acre. And I said, he couldn't really afford to build a house and be provided for that on his own. And I said, I've always done that. I didn't think I'd ever do any more building projects, but I said, I can do most of the work. I can serve as contractor and primary laborer and do all that kind of stuff. And so about a little over a year ago, we started with this. I dug out the basement, and I got to play with big boys' toys, and so backhoes and heavy equipment, and do all that stuff on my own, and dug out a basement. And I did contract out laying out block and doing that. I'm getting too old to do that myself, but I have laid some block. But then my youngest son, he does a lot of building himself and works in a construction team now, and so he come and helped me raise the walls, and then. We got that, it's under roof. We put windows in and did all that stuff not long ago. And so that was one of the things that I'm still working on and in process of. And that has limited my writing, because all my pretty days now, I'm out there working on that house project. It's right next door to us on just a piece of land right next to me. And this is just a picture of my youngest son in the red shirt. And then my wife's son is there in the right and me in the middle, but that's just us. And this is what he gave me at Thanksgiving. Gave me this son gave it to me, and one to my other son to thank him for helping build his life and help him what he's doing. And so that's just my project right now, which puts on my dreams that I have is to complete that house build, and then after that is to ride. And then I do want, because hopefully I'll free up some time as we move through the days ahead, is just to engage in more of our own motorcycle club activities. And my idea is to serve. That's been what I've been. I've been a minister all my life. I've felt called into that and have served in that in healthcare and worked in that area. And it's just a point of service. And I put in there growing awareness. I continually learn every day about myself and about others, and how I can be of service to them. And so that's part of what I want to do in the days ahead. And so we just kind of go from there. But it's been an adventure for me, and it has been a ride from starting out in the Air Force family to many different experiences. I used to tell folks, I said, I had the advantage. I grew up all over the country, exposed to many different cultures that were part of our country during the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and have a heritage of wealth of knowledge and experiences in being involved with those people. And part of my job now, even as what we call that motorcycle enthusiast, the stories that I've heard when folks come in the store and start talking, because that's what I do with folks. I talk to them, share with them. If they're interested in buying a motorcycle, I turn them over to a salesperson. If they're not, I just share and talk. We talk motorcycles, we talk life, we talk about what they're involved in. Meet Rotarians who are we're in Kodak there. We're right next to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. And so we're just a huge tourist environment, and many of them, they see our Harley sign and people just say, well, I'm going to stop at a Harley shop for whatever reason. And so they come in and we talk, and I've talked to people from all over the world. We've had folks from Germany. We've had folks from South America. We've had folks from other European, Britain countries, and it's been quite an exposure and experience just to be with those folks and learn some of their background. I had a gentleman in even today. I work Mondays and Tuesdays is when I work. And I had a gentleman in today who talked about his military service in Germany. He owns a Harley that he bought over there and rode it on the Autobahn. He said, I got it up to top end speed. And he said, I pulled off the side of the road and got off the bike and had to just catch myself. He said it was just more of something, that an experience that he had not ever had before. And for us just to talk about things and about life. And that's what I'm involved in it. So it's just growing awareness of the people around me and how I can be of service to them. And so that's what to me Rotary is about, is serving our communities where we're at, and how we can better enhance those around us and invite people to be a part of us. And so that's part of what I do, and who I am. And so that's kind of my story at that point. And so I'll stop sharing that screen and come back and just see you all. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this club, and because when I moved up here, our local Rotary clubs, they meet on days that really aren't convenient for me in times, and the one most local is a very small club, and I didn't feel I needed to be connected with a Rotary club that was 50 miles from my home, and didn't feel like that was really appropriate for my brick and mortar club, and so this affords me this opportunity to stay connected to Rotary and what it's about, but do it in this environment that I'm in right now. So I appreciate that. So that's a little bit about who I am and where I'm going and what I hope to be ahead in the days ahead. And so I appreciate the opportunity to share with you all.
That was awesome.
Was
I
that
hope
Wow.
more of us. I hope more of us do this, because it was really nice to get to know you a little better here. Couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Hey, when you lived in Selfridge, it was before I lived there, but I lived there for 4 years. Did you knew about Capehart housing? Did they have that at the time? It was
I'm
out
not
there.
familiar with it.
It was just off post. They owned another spot. They don't own it anymore. They tore it down. But it's where junior officers and senior NCOs lived with their families. It was an
Okay. We
offsite.
lived on base housing. Dad was an enlisted man,
Yeah.
and he was a flight engineer is what his career was. And back then it was old KC-97s, the refueling planes that he flew. But we lived
Well, I
on
was
base. Like I said, my backyard. Well, I had a field out of our backyard before you got to Lake Sinclair, which was a connecting lake between the Great Lakes, is what it was. But we used to watch some of the big ships go out. You could see them from a distance, from the
I know
backyard.
right where you lived. But
Mhm.
this is off base about, it was still on base, but it was off base 2 miles away where they had all this other housing built. And I lived there for 4 years. So, and I
Okay.
was on base there. Well, I worked at TACOM. That's where I lived. My job was down in Warren, but I commuted daily back to Selfridge there. So, um, and then something in here, I had a question about your wrist. When you broke your wrist, um, that was kind of some active umpiring there, huh? Did you
Well,
upset one of the
I'm a
players or
side
something?
judge, or was, and I back in those days, you have mechanics when you officiate a football game, what you're supposed to do. And at that point, if the ball and the player was rotating to the other side of the field, you ran out on the field. And so that's what I did. And then the play ran back toward me. So I was running backwards. And this was back at a high school that the field look was real good. But when you transition from the playing field to the sideline's not manicured like the playing field is. And when you make that transition, you have a change in the turf. And so I was running backwards to stay out of the play, to not get run over by the players. And as I ran backwards, when I made that transition from the playing field to the sideline, I just lost my footing going backwards. And I went backwards and did a somersault, landing on my wrist, both hands, put them down to catch myself, and did a somersault and came up. Never knew I did anything. And my referee come over to me, or started over to me. The play ended, and the referee come over to me, and there's 2 minutes left in the ball game at that point. It was right toward the end of the fourth quarter, first game of the season. And he started over to me, and when I stood up, he held my hand, or he didn't hold my hand. He saw my hand, and my hand, instead of being straight out, it came down to about the wrist area, and then it was 2 inches above it. And so on the sideline, the team that was there, the trainer came over and looked at it, and he said, "Oh, we've got to get the orthopedic surgeon that was a part of the team." And so the orthopedic surgeon came down there. He looked at it, examined it for a minute or two, and told me what he thought it was. He said it was broken. I thought, I knew that. I didn't have to go to medical school. And so he said, "Well, we're going to reduce it." Now, at this point, the thing had not hurt. I mean, there was no hurting to it at all. There was no pain involved at all. And he said, "We're going to reduce it." And I knew what that meant. I mean, I've been around ERs all my life. And so the trainer grabbed my elbow, and the surgeon grabbed my hand, and he put it back in place. Still never hurt. and then they wrapped
Wow.
it up. And he said, you ought to go to the hospital. And I told him, I said, well, I'll go to Park West. I'm the chaplain there and do all that kind of stuff. And he looked at me and said, oh, that's why you're not saying anything. In other words, that's why you're not cussing up a blue streak, is really what he was meaning at that point. But it wasn't hurting. I didn't have any reason to. And so we were leaving, and I had a full size van, conversion van that I had. And my referee said, I'll drive you to the hospital. I said, this is my left hand that's broken. My conversion van's an automatic. I'm going to drive it. I'm not going to leave it up here. And so I beat him to the hospital, and I was still wearing my stripes. And this is about midnight now. And I used to go into the hospital on Fridays at 3:30 in the morning and make rounds with the night shift just to visit with them, because that was part of what I did, was to care for the staff. And so this was folks that on Thursday night, Friday morning, I had seen them. And so now it's Friday night, Saturday morning, and I walk in, and the doctor, ER doctor, is a good friend of mine. First thing he did was start laughing at me. And the rest of them did, because again, I'm wearing my officiating stripes. I was still in uniform. I had not changed. And so got there, and so experienced that. But yeah, it was one of those things. That was on a Friday night, Saturday, and I had surgery on Wednesday. And the doctor, the surgeon that worked on me, he had a plan to go in there and put pins in it to tie it all together. But he had done a CT scan right before it and said, no, he said, it looks like all your bones in your wrist look like somebody stepped on cornflakes and just crushed them up. And so there
Ooh.
wasn't anything to pin. And so he had to do an external fixator to it, and wear metal on the outside of my arm there for about 6 weeks. And so it healed
Wow.
itself up. So it was an experience. And then most of you know, I broke my wrist, or broke my ankle, a year and a half ago, I guess it was, riding the bike. I didn't have an accident. I just had an incident where the bike, to keep it from going down when I was pulling out at a red light and turning to the right, I put my right foot down because I hit some gravel and the bike spun, and put my foot down and popped the bike back up, and I popped my ankle clean out of place. And so my right ankle's full of metal right now because of all and will be when they rebuilt that ankle for me. And so it's a thing. Both times, people said, "You gonna get back on the bike?" I said, "Why not?" I said, that's no reason to get off the motorcycle." I said, "Motorcycle's fine." And so it's an interesting experience. But I enjoy riding people. We all know people who don't ride don't understand it, and I lived with that all those years in healthcare. But those who rode understood it, and they knew what it was about, and so that's why we enjoy it.
Even if you break the bike, I gotta say it's kind of fun rebuilding them. I've rebuilt two
Well,
of them now.
sometimes, yeah. It was when I was younger. I'm not really into that anymore.
Hey, you got a question with this thing here. I found this while you were talking about it earlier. Is that the 100 you're talking about?
Yeah, mine was red, but yeah, it sort of looked like that.
Oh, they got a red one right there.
Yeah, down there in the bottom. Mine was a red one.
Gotta find it. There's my mouse. There you go.
That bike, it had a speedometer of 70 miles an hour. Now that doesn't quite look like it. It had a little bit different look than that. But that may have been a newer version to it. But
How about that one?
yeah, that's a little closer to it there. And the funny thing about that bike, the reason my parents bought it was because it was cheaper than a Honda 90, and so they bought that one, and less expensive.
Who'd have
But
thought you'd say the
it didn't have an
Ducati was
ignition
cheaper,
switch.
huh?
Yeah, it didn't have an ignition switch. It just had a toggle switch to turn it off and on. So when I'd ride it to school, I would act like I was pulling the key out of it or turning the key to lock it up, because you didn't lock it. There was no lock on it. And so anybody could hop on it and throw the toggle switch. And of course, it was all kickstart and kickstart the thing and ride it around. But it did its due. It ran hard. I mean, it had a speedometer of 70 miles an hour, and it seemed well beyond that. And so it would move.
Who'd have ever thought you'd have said a Ducati was cheaper than anything?
Yeah, it was then though, at 100. But that got me started, and it stayed. The desire to ride has stayed with me my whole life, even when I thought I was quitting and getting out of it.
And good for you. You hear that a lot. You hear that, yeah, I hear that from people who are like, no, I'm selling my bike, I'm done. And then, little time passes and all of a sudden there they are with a new bike.
Yeah.
So
Well,
does
that's what I get
happen.
a lot of people that come in the motorcycle shop and we'll ask them, what are you riding? Well, I'm not riding anything now. I'm too old. I said, well, how old are you? And they'll say, well, I'm 63 or 60 or 68. And I say, well, you're not too old to ride. You're not. And we've got some who are riding in their 80s and who are still riding with us. And so that's a wonderful thing if you can.
It's impressive. It really is. And there's so many things you can do now. And I won't even launch into it, but it's like, who cares? Who cares
Yeah.
if you're on two or three wheels? At least you're out there. You're out
Hmm.
there, you're doing it. That's the important part.
That's it.
Well, thank you so much. It was actually very educational. I did not know a whole lot about you, and I realize that now. So I thank you for coming and speaking tonight. That was great.
Oh, well.
Anybody else have anything? Any questions? Anything? Comments?
I was
Comments or anything?
interested. You said you lived in Fairfield
Yes.
outside Travis. I
Hmm.
was there late 69, early 70. We lived in Fairfield, and
Okay.
that was quite an experience. I was Navy, but my wife and I had a little place in Fairfield.
Okay. Yeah, we moved out there in 66 and stayed until Dad retired in July of 69 is when we left there. We were off base for a little while and then on base. I've been back because I still have some friends that I lived with, grew up with there, that's still there. And I've been back and visited them. It's been several years ago now, and saw the transition of Travis. In fact, my younger brother, who's about 12 years younger than I am, he was born at Travis on the air base there.
My
Excellent.
dad had an assignment on at Selfridge. He was Air Force Reserve at the time. He spent 2 weeks in Selfridge in '67. And
Hmm.
so I was on Selfridge for 2 weeks back then too, which was about the time you were there, I would guess.
Well, I was there until we left in December of 65. And so we
Okay, a
moved
couple
there in
years later.
62, I guess. We was there for about 3 years. And so
It was a few years
during enough
after you
time.
then.
Selfridge is where I fell in love with the Detroit Tigers. And still, that's my baseball team.
I'll be damned.
Um, the interesting thing at Travis, I used to meet back in the mid 60s. I used to ride bicycle all over the airbase, and I would wind up over at our air terminal. And a lot of young men who were flying to Vietnam, that was the last stateside stop for them. And I would often meet them in the terminal. And right across from the terminal, we had a great big building. I don't even know what it originally was, but it was full of uh, not vending games, but uh, pinball games. And I used to take them over there and play pinball with a lot of those kids. And I've always thought about how many of them went to Nam, how many of them didn't ever make it back from there. And
Yeah.
so, and my dad flew, like I said, he transitioned when he went to California to the C-141s, which is a transport cargo plane, and flew many missions in and out of Vietnam for 18 months there. And so it was an experience to be there during that time frame.
Now that you mentioned you like the Detroit Tigers, I'll have to look and see if there's a possibility of a game just before or just after the spring trip up here. So
I hadn't thought about that. I need to look
might
at
work
that.
that in. You and I can go see the Tigers.
Yeah, I used to go to Old Tiger Stadium. Now and we had Dick McAuliffe was the old shortstop with them, and he come out there at the airbase at Selfridge. We built little league ball fields and named them after him, and he came out there and helped dedicate the field.
I mean, my first games when I first moved here was at the old stadium, so that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Very cool. Hey, before we quit, I want to shift over. How you doing, Rory? How's your health?
Good.
Yeah?
Yep. Got an appointment tomorrow for my 6-week checkup.
Oh, good.
So we'll see how my back's doing tomorrow.
Good.
That means he's ready to put you through the ringer then, probably, huh?
Oh, probably.
Well, good luck on you.
Yeah. I felt the weather changed today, so I think I'm going to be one of those people.
Ugh.
I've been one of those people.
Well,
Rob,
this was
Navy.
great.
What were you in the Navy?
I was a radarman.
I'll be dang. Cool.
Yeah. I was in 4 years, spent almost a year up at Great Lakes in the wintertime, and rest of it in San Diego.
I bet San Diego is a little more comfortable.
Very much so. Enjoyed that.
Very cool.
Want to
And
take a
Great Lakes you wouldn't recognize now. It's just crazy over there. I used to live just north of there. Well, thank you all so much. Actually, Jerry, I did want to share one thing with everybody. Jerry has been putting out to the IFMR guys that we are, you know, doing this weekly. And I wanted to let y'all know we've gotten some really, really good engagement and a couple applications. So, yay, us. Growth is good. So,
Mhm.
I wanted to share that with everybody before we left for the night. And I want to thank y'all for coming. Yeah, we got a fun happy hour next week. Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
So I hope you're all able to make it. I will be there. Uh-oh.
There's next week's on the wines. If anybody had any questions, that was what she put out. It's in the email I sent you all for invite for tonight. So there's the shopping list, and those are all easy wines to get. So
Excellent.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you all so much. Everybody have a good week. Jerry, safe travels. Get to get to Guatemala, please. And we will see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Excellent program.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you,
absolutely. Thanks.
David.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey.
Thanks again, David. Really
Oh, you're
appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you, Jerry.
Perfect.